talkradio.nyc.
What up, world? What up, world? It's your boy Tommy D, the one and only, the non-profit sector connector, bit of the raspy voice. I was out late last night. My friends at Options for Community Living here on Long Island, they had a comedy show event. And no, I was not on stage telling jokes, but I was in the audience listening to jokes. And it was late. I'm an old man. I'm 47 years old now. I mean, I knew I had to make this trip up to the attic this morning, 2 flights up from the kitchen, just below the roof of the house. That's where we do the show, in the attic, baby. But I'm a bit raspy, and I might need a lozenge or something like that. That's a fun word, lozenge. All right, listen, shout out to Options for Community Living. Yolanda Rubano Gross, my very, very good friend. You and your team did a hell of a job. And I tell you, the comedians were funny, but it was late. It was 11 o'clock, 11:30 last night. And like I say, I feel like I'm an old man. No matter what foundation in the house today, very important conversation. I don't bring this out there. I mean, I tell this story, but I don't really come out with it too much, as I'm going to be specific right now. September 21st, 2010. That's the date. That's the last time I had alcohol in this body. And I was just looking at the backgrounds and bios of my 2 guests here today. And I don't always use the word recovery, but I will tell you this. I have now been sober for, as I say, 14 and change, going on 15 years. And that is a big deal. And I tell people, yeah, I'm in therapy. I got the ADHD and I'm sober. And I do that because we're normalizing a lot of these conversations, gang. Hashtag ending the stigma together. There should be no stigma around I need help. There should be no stigma around I'm going to therapy. We all need support at different times. And I say, go after it, get what you need. We're all going through something. We're all battling through something. This life is not a simple one. So we're going to leave that there for now, but I just encourage you, if that's what you need, if you need help and support, you're going to see a lot of that in this conversation and hear a lot in this conversation today. So I now am going to introduce what I will call these guys friends. I hope they want to be friends with me. We'll see. We'll see at 11 o'clock if they still want to be friends. But I'll tell you something. Here's what happened the other day. Every time we do this show, which is every Friday morning, 206 Fridays in a row, something like that. Every time we do this show, I meet with my guest that week for what's usually, I say, hey, listen, it's a 5 to 7 minute phone call. And it's really, I just want to kind of prep, remind you what this is about, give you kind of the run of show and give you the opportunity to ask any questions. Well, that didn't happen this week. I think we spoke for 45 minutes and we were really just getting along. I love this story. It's an important story. It is a human story. And I just want to introduce Kevin Raab and Ken Nicholson, the co-founders of No Matter What Foundation. Men, how are you?
We're great. Thank you for having us.
Good morning, Tommy.
You are very welcome. I'm really excited to have you guys here. You tricked out in the No Matter What gear. We already talked about that in the green room. I got to buy both Jesse behind the glass and myself some gear. You guys got hats?
Absolutely. I was wearing one the other day.
They got the lids. They got the whole thing. Listen, if Tommy D loves a hoodie more than anything in life, maybe there's a couple more things I like, but I just love rocking a hoodie. Even as we go in the spring now, shorts and a hoodie here on Long Island, man, flip-flops, shorts and a hoodie. That's really all there is. Maybe a hat to block out the sun and some 7-Eleven, $20 7-Eleven shades. Now you guys know everything. So if you want a Tommy D starter kit, that's what it would be. Now, let's get after it, guys. Let's get into it. I'll go into your bios and all that kind of stuff. But what I really how did you guys connect? And then we'll get into what the organization's all about, what we're doing together.
I'm going to let Kevin talk about that a little bit, but before we get started, I just wanted to give a shout out to Gary Peluso and Doug Tully. They're the other 2 gentlemen that were the founders of the No Matter What Foundation with us. They're still on our board. And Kevin and I have a little more free time on our hands, so we take care of the majority of the day-to-day operations.
So that's Gary Peluso and Doug Tully?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gary and Doug. I look forward to meeting you guys. Maybe, Ken Nicholson was telling me the other day he's going to invite me to his golf club. So maybe I'll meet them at your club one day. Wink, wink.
He would love that.
Yeah. If you guys know, then you know what I'm saying. And I'm sure some of the people hearing this know exactly what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So
Why
let's
don't
get
you tell
into
them
it,
a little
Kevin.
bit about
How
how
did it
we
happen,
got this
Kevin?
started?
Let's start with telling you what the No Matter What Foundation is. We're a 501(c) non-for-profit, which is dedicated to helping people fight their addiction and help them to get into recovery. And basically how we started was the four of us were sitting actually in this exact office on a Saturday, I think it was a Saturday afternoon. And we were just talking about what we can do to help an individual, maybe two individuals. And we said, let's start a GoFundMe. Let's have a little fundraiser. Maybe we can raise enough money to put somebody into a rehab that doesn't have the money.
Well, let
Because
me stop you just for a sec. So the challenge that you were sitting around talking about was folks may want help. They're ready to
yes,
address this situation, Kevin, but what it sounds like there's a gap there.
there is. So basically, and yes, it's much more complex than I'm going to try to explain it. There are three types of rehabs, in my opinion. You have ones that should be outlawed. They should be illegal. They're not doing anything to help people. They're milking the insurance industry. They're milking individuals. They have very little care for the recovery aspect. They're in for the money. And some of them, there's a politician right now that's very big right now in the Trump cabinet whose son died in a rehab because they don't care. So you have really bad places. Then you have some really good places that accept insurance, that accept, Medicaid, Medicaid, that are good, but people can't get in there or they can't afford their copay.
Mhm.
So they opt not to go. They walk in and they hear that there's a $50 copay, they walk out the door. Or they hear that there's an intake fee, they walk out the door. But they're good and they take insurance and they care. They're not the nicest in the world.
But the thing is too, I mean, what it takes somebody to get to that point to raise their hand and say, I'm ready, I need help. Those of us who've been down this road know there's a lot of stuff,
There's a
right?
lot of stuff.
To
It's
get to
usually
that
somebody
point.
telling you.
But say that again?
It's usually somebody telling you you're
Yeah,
ready. And
yeah.
then me, for example, I wasn't ready.
Mhm.
I was told I was ready. And by the time, the miracle happens that you're there and you stay long enough and then you realize your life is better. But there are people that are just at rock bottom that know if they don't do this now, they are going to die. They are going to lose their family. They're going to lose, their children. Some of them might have legal issues. Some of them might have, no job. And there are people that are just fed up of being fed up or sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yep.
And they finally say it's time to help. So that goes back to that middle echelons of rehabs that are very good. And then you have, of course, lifestyles of the rich and famous. Can cost you $80,000 for a 30-day program that, unless you have the resources, you can't go to. And
Mhm.
and some of them are very good. I'm not saying they're not good. They're just very expensive. So you have somebody that's coming in that wants to get sober. What are their choices? Go to the bad rehabs. Go to the ones that are going to hurt you and not help you because that's what will take them because they don't care.
Tell them about your nephew.
So my nephew is a perfect example. He was in one of those rehabs and they milked his father does well and he had good insurance and they milked the insurance for ridiculous amounts of money. At 28 days, they drove him and dropped him off in front of the hotel where he could buy heroin. And they picked him up 24 hours later and they put him in for another 30 days. And then in 30 days, they dropped him off again. And not just him, this happens with tons of people. And it's a cycle. They milk the insurance companies for everything they get. They don't focus on the recovery aspect.
Oh, it sounds like, and I think this is what you're saying, and I'm just going to call it what I'm seeing. They don't care. They
No.
don't. This is a business to these people.
Yes.
This is not about helping human beings. We know that we can drop them back off, we'll pick them back up. It's good for business. It's
Yep.
terrible for human beings, right? And then is your nephew? Can we ask about your nephew? Is he or well,
He passed away of an overdose. So,
Kevin,
there
sorry.
is no Listen, there's only three things that happen. You either finally get recovered, you die, or you go to jail. I don't think there's any other option, when it comes to that. And 1 out of 10 families in the United States have lost somebody to substance abuse.
One
One
out,
out of 10.
1 out of 10.
Okay, 1 out of 3 have somebody with a substance abuse problem. So if you're talking to 3 people, there's chances that one of them, somebody in their family, a friend, a loved one, is suffering from some type of drug or alcohol issue.
Yeah.
It is more there than it's not. People may not talk about it. There's a stigma behind it. People don't like to say, "Oh yes, my son's an alcoholic," but it's there. If God forbid somebody had cancer, the first thing they say is, "Oh, he has cancer. He's getting treatment."
Yeah.
But they're not going to say he has a drug or alcohol problem and he needs treatment.
It goes to the same thing that I continue to talk about, and I discuss with you guys a bit, about ending the stigma as it relates to mental health and serious and persistent mental illness. And I say this all the time with no clinical background. I say this, that if substance abuse disorder and mental health challenges are not siblings, well, they're cousins, and they're first cousins. I mean, and because it's so concurrent, is maybe that's the right word, but they run together, in a lot of cases. And I started the other show I do, hashtag ending the stigma together, and that started to be about serious and persistent mental illness and what I call general mental health. But honestly, now it's about living with HIV and AIDS. Now it's about alcohol and substance abuse. It just keeps running the gamut, because as humans, there's so much stigma, or so many stigmas. I'm not sure. I don't know the grammar on that.
Right.
The point is, it hits a lot of things. It's not just that. So, the thing that kind of, I had Dr. Jeffrey Reynolds on a couple of shows I did recently, from Family and Children's Association, FCA, out here on Long Island. And, the thing we were talking about is how ubiquitous the ads are for alcohol, beer and whatnot and things like that. And also I got a whole other thing about, gambling and stuff, and how ubiquitous that is. I can't watch Let's Go Mets. I can't watch the Mets game with my kid without my kid saying to me, "Look, DraftKings is going to throw us $500. I got my 14-year-old son. I've been down that gambling road. I grew up in the bar business, guys. I I did a lot of things, and watching my 14-year-old think that that's going to be the move, is that DraftKings is going to give us $400, $500. It's a whole nother thing. But the alcohol thing is so ubiquitous, and it's so socially acceptable. And, it's in a lot of cases, and I know we're not just talking about alcohol, but alcohol is worse than a lot of these things, because it's like, hey man, you go out, you have a couple pops. That's what we do. It's that part of it. I grew up doing it, that's more of a statement, guys. And I don't even have a question about it. It's just something. Ken, what do you have on that? I see you.
So, Tommy, my sober date is February 8th, 1995. I just celebrated 30 years, and I've been in the recovery field working as a clinician since 1995. And I say it all the time. I have yet to find a client who woke up one morning and went, "Yep, today's the day. I'm getting sober." That's not the way it works, right? It's usually our spouse, our health, the law, our job. It's somebody on the outside,
Yeah.
like Kevin was saying, tells us we need to get sober. The trick in recovery, the recovery field, is to take that external motivator, the thing on the outside that motivates us into recovery, turn that into an internal motivator, so that by the time the client's ready to leave treatment, they see the benefit of recovery and they want to be sober, right? That being said, we got to strike while the iron's hot. And one of the obstacles a lot of people face, like, they've made the decision, I'm ready, I'm going to do it. Where can I go? Now they start running into insurance problems. And even people with insurance sometimes still have additional copays that are expensive, costs that are prohibitive to them. The No Matter What Foundation, we do not send a client to a treatment facility that we have not went to ourselves or that we are not familiar with. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people. Inpatient Seafield, LICR, that's where we like to send our clients. They do a fantastic job. We've referred over 100 people into treatment. We don't help pay for all of it at times, but this wasn't part of our original plan, but we've kind of become like a referral agency. We've referred people to the Karen Foundation, which we can't afford to pay for somebody to go to Karen. It's way too expensive. but we know they do good work there. So we don't mind referring people who come to us for help and have the means. We don't mind referring them to a place like that. KPC for outpatient, Transformation House and Integrity for sober housing, right? We will not send anybody who comes to us for help to a place that we have not vetted on our own, that we are not comfortable with, that we don't know if they do the right thing or not. And we have met, I got to tell you, some angels doing this work, some people whose hearts are in the right place. Right? Could you could you tell them a little bit about Family Bagel?
Yeah, wait, I just want to go back to something you said about the mental illness. Not every rehab is the same. You don't wake up and say, oh, here's a rehab, I'm gonna go here and get sober. They all have, or some of them have like a real specialty niche. Like we have some that really focus on mental illness. We have some that focus on first responders. We have some that focus on if you're a doctor or a nurse in the medical field. So it really depends. Everybody's situation is different. And the one thing I learned when I was in school was you have to meet the patient where they're at. And sometimes going to, let's say, Sheffield is not the right program. LICR is for a couple different factors. And that's what we've really been focusing on. We have some rehabs that are really good on mental illness.
Watergap Wellness.
Watergap Wellness. Karen has a great facility in Florida that wet brain, which is a condition that happens when you drink too much and it becomes a neurological. They have a great area for that. Marworth is another great one. They work with, first responders. And it really depends on where you're going and what your personal needs are.
Yeah.
And that's what we've really tried to get a handle on. Some take, Medicaid, some take Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we have to look at all the parameters and help them choose the right place. We don't tell them where to go. That's not our job.
So I got to jump in because we're going to take a quick break, but I want to do this. Ken, write a note on what you want to, because I know, Ken, you got something there, but I want to be mindful of what couple things. So we're going to go to break in a second, but I want to say word that's coming up for me, guys, is navigation or navigator. And I'm hearing that in my soul that's what you help folks do. Before we go to a break, though, because this could be somebody's finding this for the first time. This could be a critical point in their lives. Who do they call if they want to connect with the foundation and they need support?
If you go onto our website, www.nmw-foundation.org, there is a link to contact us. There's an application for scholarships. Address, phone number are all on the link. They can call anytime. Like what Kenny said, you have to strike while the calls are hot. It was last night. Are we on break?
Yeah, we're good. We're still going. I'm just sharing the website.
Kenny called me 2 nights ago at 8:00 at night. We have somebody we need to get in. So what we do is we get them in right then and there. We have the personal cell phone numbers of all the heads of these places, and we can make arrangements at any time of the night to get them either picked up, set up, or organized. We don't say wait till tomorrow morning.
Oh, because a lot of times it might not be a tomorrow morning, whether not just out of tragedy, but the decision might have gone away. I was ready, and now I'm not. You know what? I'm through that, and I'm back to I got my drink or I got my drug, and I don't need you guys no more, right?
Listen, there's one person I was just talking about. We had it set up to pick him up first thing in the morning, and he didn't answer his phone. And we panicked because we said, all right, he went out. Maybe he didn't go out. We didn't know. And then he called. He goes, oh, no, I'm ready. My phone was on silent.
Oh, my God.
But,
yeah.
There are people that when you go to pick them up, they're not there.
You're not
because
there
they woke up and they said, wait, I'm not doing this.
No, right. Because you know what? Because like I said earlier in the program, it took so much to get to that point, whether it's rock bottom or a family member or something pushing you there. You know what it did it for me? Having an 11-month-old daughter with a wife who was pregnant with my son. You talk external, Kenny, that was the external in my, being at a family event when your wife goes, Tommy, get out of the way. I don't even ever share this up. Get out of the way. I'll pick up the kid. That's when you go, holy cow. And I didn't say cow. That's when things click. And you realize as a 32-year-old man and a father almost of 2, that's when you realize, gang. So there's a point where you all hit, not everybody hits this point, but if you need the support, again, the website is nmw-foundation.org. I will share the website while we go to break. Kevin said you go right to the contact us section. And there's a phone number where you call them. There's an email, and they will reach right back out to you. Gents, we got a lot to talk about. We got to take a quick break. A lot of storytelling we're going to get into today. I got to be honest. I feel so connected to the work you're doing. I love all my friends in the nonprofit space. I do. Just this is it's very close to home for me for a lot of ways. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm getting emotional. We got to go to a break. You can't see them letting, they can't know I'm sensitive. We got to go to a break. We'll be right back, guys. Let's go to break.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Right, that's right. Cut through the static, baby. Join me in the attic. Join me in the attic. If you're one of my 4 children and you're listening, do not join me in the attic right now. Everybody's home. It is Good Friday. You know, Easter this week, Passover this week. Happy holidays to everybody. I'm reaching out to my kids. Don't join me in the attic. Actually, be quiet. I'm trying to do some shows here today. Gang, we're here. How about that song? Have you guys ever heard that song before?
We were trying to dance a little.
That is my friend, Brendan Levy from the Queen's Chamber of Commerce, lead singer of Damaged Goods. We'll all go out and see them one night. They used to be called The Goods. And actually, maybe I'll have them do a show for you guys for raise some money or something like that for the organization. They used to be called The Goods, but now they're old men. They call themselves Damaged Goods. So,
Yes.
you know.
Aren't we all a little damaged?
We all are damaged, which makes us fun. You know, the organization, the No Matter What Foundation, 501c3 nonprofit organization committing to helping individuals and families affected by substance use disorder find hope, healing, and lasting recovery. Based in Long Island, we offer scholarships for sober living, treatment, and supportive services to those who need it most, regardless of their financial situation. You're sitting around that office, the 4 of you guys. You got Gary, Doug, Kenny, and Kevin, and you said, man, you know, if we can find a way to help one person, handful of people, right? Maybe half a dozen. How many people have been impacted by this organization?
We've put probably well over 100 people in the last year into treatment. We probably on the scholarship have had in and out 50 people in the last year in sober living. Right now, we have close to 30 people on scholarships of some type in a sober living home right now. And there's a few people in treatment under some type of scholarship with us.
What if you guys didn't have that Saturday afternoon conversation? Like this, I believe like we really have to analyze these things in life. What if you didn't? What would the trajectory? Lives literally would have been.
I'll give you a perfect story for that. So this gentleman who we helped, it was one of the first people we got into sober housing, if not the first person. He was literally living in the woods last year. He was living in the woods for over a year and a half, doing heroin and whatever else he was doing. And he calls me the other night and he says, this guy I went to rehab with needs to get sober. He needs to get into a rehab. He doesn't have insurance. So the whole night I'm wheeling and dealing, trying to get him into insurance. We get him to a place called Talbot House. That's like a way station. And Talbot House finds out he actually does have insurance. He has Medicaid. So we call our friends at Seafield, and our friends at Seafield get him in. So I call this guy, Chris, back to let him know we got the guy into treatment.
Chris is the guy, Kenny. Chris is the guy that was living in the woods.
Chris is the guy that was living in the woods,
that,
right?
that got sober, got clean. You guys helped
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Now he's just through context, so I get this. He's paying it forward for
Amen.
100%.
Yeah.
Right.
So I call him back to let him know that we got the guy into rehab, and he says to me, Kenny, and then the phone goes silent for like 20 seconds, and I'm like, did I lose you? I'm saying, did I lose you? He got so caught up he couldn't speak, and then he gets all tearful and he goes, a year less than a year ago, I was living in the woods. He's like, I'm not being dramatic. You guys saved my life. I will do anything I can do to help this organization. Anything. Our 5K, it was pouring rain the day of our 5K. He was there helping us out, At our golf outing this year, we're going to honor the guy who runs Transformation House. He's going to give him the award, There's a ripple effect to recovery. So you throw that one rock and it ripples out. Like I helped Kevin 11 years ago, This guy is a button manufacturer. That's what he does for a living. He knows more about insurance probably than me at this point because he went to school this year, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
He literally went to school and got his KSAC-T, but figuratively, he's learned because he had to learn to help people, and it's amazing. The stuff Doug is doing in the labor field, he's getting guys that are in labor and getting them in sober houses, and Gary is doing behind the scenes stuff. It's tremendous. It's just
I love that ripple effect, Kenny. I talk about it all the time, brother. I talk about when that you throw that stone. I believe, and I truly believe this, not fodder. I believe that ripple's infinite because this gentleman you mentioned, you said his name, Chris, and now he impacts the life of this other person. How many lives do we impact? Part of this pisses me off, honestly, because this is what we're supposed to do to other human beings is compassion and love and reach that arm out. And I find in a lot of cases it doesn't happen. It's for guys like you that have to make change, and have to be, it isn't just the four of you. I understand that. And there's hundreds of volunteers and all the people that support your organization and all the other organizations on Long Island. But it is, anybody can be a change maker and can sit in this office like you're in and go, what can we do better? Well, how can we help people? What's the problem? I'm saying that to my two guests, but I'm saying that to everybody else too. Gang, you want to be a change maker? You want to make the world, your community, your neighborhood, your freaking home a better place? Do me a favor, do you a favor, do everybody. Just do that thing, whatever that thing is. You want to go volunteer at the pantry? Go volunteer at the pantry. You want to create a pantry? Go create a pantry. I mean, that is the power that we have to create change and make the world a better place. Kevin, Kenny, what do you got on that?
So, the ripple effect, Kenny and I were at a luncheon last Thursday, I think it was, for Kenneth Peter Centers. It was their 30th anniversary, and Claudia Ragni, who runs it, she's the head of KPC. It was her, this was her dream.
Was that the place in her name? Who was the woman that you brought with you to the?
Yes, that's exactly who you met.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So she's on our board.
she's on our advisory board.
And she's one of the most remarkable people. We honored her last year at our first golf outing. But at this anniversary, her 30-year anniversary, she talked about how KPC got 40,000 people came into this store for treatment. Out of that 40,000, you can only imagine the lives that have been changed. Children, parents, friends, loved ones. It's you can't even comprehend the amount of people. And out of that, somebody like me, I probably 25, 30 people through just KPC before we started, no matter what. So you take that 40,000 and you can't even imagine how many lives were changed by that 40,000. Millions.
Literally.
Like I was joking. I said, we couldn't even get him into MetLife Stadium. We need 10 of them.
Yeah. It's true. And that's how far the ripple goes. Kenny slipped that in there, millions, because it does go on forever. Because, the gentleman you mentioned who was living in the woods, and all the best to him. And I hope I meet him. I love to give him a hug, and just the stuff that you all are doing. Last night, I didn't even get to say this yet. Before I went to the Options for Community Living event, I met Bikers Against Child Abuse. We met out in Selden. We met at the Texas Roadhouse parking lot, me and these four guys. I don't know if you know these guys from BACA, BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse. it's coming up for me now, so I feel like I got to say it. Just the impact that these men and women are doing in that organization. Gang, it is a beautiful world. There are beautiful people doing really, really special things. Look for it. You want to see the crap in the world? Trust me, it's there. Go find it if you want. But you want to see the good in the world? It's there too. Focus
Tommy,
on
you're
that.
one of those people too. Just the web you have and the people you're going to be able to put us in touch with, and it's life changing for a lot of people, not just people in recovery.
And what's
So
it-
thank you for
Thank
what
you,
you
Kenny.
do.
And thanks for saying that.
And what's
And thank you for that. I've
interesting,
been getting better at it. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
what's interesting is, we don't advertise. We have pamphlets, we put stuff on Facebook. Our phone rings. I don't think there's a day that goes by that we don't get a call from somebody. How they got to us, I have no
Tell
idea.
them when we left Seafield,
Uh,
Wellbridge.
oh, oh yeah. So we have somebody that called us and said I need to get into detox. Kenny's like, all right, we got him in. We're like, can you be here in 20 minutes? They go, why? We go, we're gonna drive you. We're actually going there on a meeting, and we drove them out to Wellbridge, and this person sold it still. So
And
it's
then on the way home that day,
oh yeah, so we're driving there and we get a call. Somebody needs to get into rehab. Okay, boom, 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 make it done, picked up. We're leaving, we get another call. My cell phone rings. It's somebody else. Hang up. Kenny gets a call. Somebody else. Then somebody in my family called me and said, hey, so-and-so, who's a friend of mine's niece is in trouble. And this is how Kenny and I get along great. I said, let me put my cape back on. And he goes, stop, put your ego in check. It's not about your cape. And but
Being cute about it, but
Right.
but he's going to
But
tell you, don't even
keep
go
it
there.
real. Don't
Yeah.
forget where you're coming from. Keep it. And we got 4 people in that car ride out to West Hampton in 6 hours.
yeah.
So not a day goes by, and it comes from people we have helped. It comes from friends of people we have helped. It comes from family members of people that met Gary at a pickleball match or met Claudia or Regina. Our board is very diversified. We have 3 or 4 CASACs, which are licensed addiction therapists. We have the ex-Senate Majority Chair, John Flanagan. We have the DA of Freeport is Rob McLaughlin. We have a diverse group of people, and because of these people, we're finding other people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm showing your board of directors and things
Yeah.
like that. Gang, again, go to nmw-foundation, nmw-foundation.org.org, and you'll see the board and the executive team, things like that. This is a full volunteer organization, right, guys? I mean, that's what we talk about.
We take no salary, no management fee. We don't say we give 100% back because we have accountants and lawyers, but we do not take anything for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zero. And there are other organizations out there that take 50% in salary or 20% in rent. We're going back and forth because we don't have an office, and we need one. And we're like, we look at it in $500 intervals. If we sponsor somebody for $500 a month for sober living and we spend that on rent, we can't. We might lose a life, and we can't do it. We're too obsessed with.
So let me talk about that. That $500 figure we talked about the other day, that $500 figure is like, what does that represent? It's a day in sober living.
It's a month in sober living. It's a month. We the houses that we work with, the majority of them are approximately $800 a month, let's say.
Okay.
And they give us a price of $500, and that's how we're getting people sober for a month. Or we take that $500 and we amortize it and help pay for the deductibles, the co-pays, we've made deals with different people for IOP, which is intensive outpatient. It's kind of the same thing as being in rehab, but you can either live home or in sober living house. You come 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and you get, it's probably one of the most crucial keys to getting sober, in my opinion.
Let me hold that, Kevin. Hold that thought, because here's what we're gonna do. We got to go to a break, but when I come back, I want you to do this. I want you to go from somebody calls up and says, "I need help," and whatever that looks like, where they go to rehab. Then we talk about sober living. We talk about the different options. I want to talk about that journey, right? So you guys can both. And by the way, when he keeps saying he went to school, we got a chuckle out of this the other day because I watched as I responded to something Kevin said. Kenny, I think you remember this. He goes, yeah. So I went back and I got my case. I go, of course he did. Of course he did.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because the guy wants to help. He's a button guy. That's what he. I don't even know what that means still yet. We'll talk about that. He's in the button trade, and his buttons were on. I think the Masters jackets. I heard. I don't know if I'm supposed to put that out there, but I just did. It's out there now. But Kevin, it goes back to school, to learn the craft and the trade of what this work is, because he's that passionate about doing this work. I'm rambling. When I try to go to break, I can't even let myself go to break, guys. But we talked about my brain type. All right, so we come back. Phone call comes in. You get somebody to rehab, right? That's where we're going to start there,
Yep.
and we're going to walk through the trajectory. They meet with you guys and how that all works out. The show is called Philanthropy and Focus. The organization is the No Matter What Foundation, because no matter what, the world can be a beautiful place, and we can help people if you lean in and do the work. We'll be right back. Philanthropy and Focus.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Doing the head bob, they're moving around. I dig music, guys, and I dig all sorts of music, and I think that tune needs to be updated. I was telling Uncle Brendan Levy, I'm very into reggae music, and I think we need like a reggae island vibe. And a couple of these other shows that I do, we have the island vibe when we start those shows. So Uncle Brendan, if you're out there, we need to change the music. We need to write some new tunes. I love that song, but 206 episodes in, we might need to make a change. Gang.
Tommy, May 17th at KPC, we're doing Rocking in Recovery.
What's that about? Tell us about that.
So if you play an instrument, or if you're trying to play an instrument, or if your voice is your instrument, come on down May 17th, and we're going to get a bunch of sober musicians here, and we're just going to jam out.
Oh, I love that, man. Where is that? Just the event is just a concert? Is it open mic? Like, what is that?
Just like, it's the first time we're doing it. We're just going to kind of bring instruments and see where it goes.
Oh my God. I love that. That's the creative stuff right there, man. Stuff just happens. All right. So you guys,
I'm the supervisor because I have no talent. When it comes
well,
to
let me
music.
tell you something. I was going to ask you that actually, Kevin. Here's a question for you. My go-to, right? My go-to, if I'm at the karaoke, and my go-to sometimes in my kitchen is Roadhouse Blues by the Doors, man. And I just rock out. I end up, it gets a little wild. So I don't know if I'm really a good singer, because some people stay in the room, some people leave the room when I start to sing, but sometimes I just break out into song like that. It just happens, gang. But maybe I can get my friend Brendan Levy and the crew to come through. I also, guys, it might sound a little weird on this conversation, but I'm doing a wine tasting at North Shore TV. I know what, the guy's sober. I won't be tasting any of the wine, but I have friends who will be. But I have these three guys. There's four guys in the band. This is when you gotta love it. They're called the Time Traveling Trio, but they have four members. So I love when that stuff happens, because that doesn't make any sense. That's perfect for me. But these guys go around the island, and we'll hook you up. They're actually, one of them is a creative director at the Spirit of Huntington Arts Center, where I'm on the board. James Young, shout out to James Young. He's coming on Long Island Changemakers in a couple weeks. And the reason he's coming on the show, Changemakers, is to tell the story about Spirit of Huntington. But the Time Traveling Trio, they do concerts where they give back to nonprofits. So maybe we'll have to, not maybe.
Love that.
Tell them about the guitarist at the golf outing last year.
Yeah, so last year we were introduced to a guitar player who came and played at our golf outing during the cocktail hour. Guy was phenomenal. James Fleming, Courtney Fleming, he was phenomenal. About 2 weeks later, I get a call from this guy at Transformation House who we never met before. It was the middle of the night. He sent me a text. He's like, I was flipping through Facebook and I saw a picture of Courtney playing. What do you guys do? I run a sober house. I got somebody who's down and out, has nothing, and we ended up taking on that person. Like you talk about ripple effect.
Of course, 100%. 100%. What happens if Courtney Flanagan is not playing at your event and they don't see it on Facebook, right? That's the stuff. That's why you got to play the game. You got to be in it every day. What happens? You get a phone call, you get an email this afternoon at noon. What happens? Tell me.
Basically, well, we don't recommend particular, rehabs. We'll play out the situation and find where he belongs or she belongs and recommend, like, let's call it Sheffield, LSGO, Wellbridge, or, Water Gap. They go into rehab. The most important thing about rehab is on day 30 when you leave. Because you're in rehab, you're in a controlled environment, you're getting the help you need, but you have to leave and go into the real world. So basically, the continuum of care would be the next step to have the highest success rate is to go into an IOP, which is an intensive outpatient, which I described before.
Let me ask you this. I know where you're going. I want to ask you. So I do my 30 days, right? And I've been supported and I go to meetings and I have community of people who are experiencing similar things and we're all there together. And now I go back to the quote unquote real world where all the temptation is there. The support that I had is not there. Left to my own devices, things can happen, right? So that to me sounds like a recipe for a hell of a challenge if nothing else, right? So you're saying we need
continuum of care.
We need that continuum of care to help this person stay on track, correct?
I don't think there's a rehab, an inpatient facility we work with that will let somebody leave without having this IOP in place before they leave.
Good.
Do they all go? No. The smart ones will go. You can't make them go, but they will have it set up for them. This is where you should go. Seafield has their own outpatients.
Which is why from the earlier part of this conversation is why you choose your partners, so to speak, where folks go, because you know their continuum of care is in their DNA of what the organization, they're going to almost require it, right? And that's why you send folks to these places. For the place that isn't going to put value on that continuum of care, they're not really doing the work, right?
No. We have somebody right now in Wellbridge that got discharged yesterday. And the clinician from Wellbridge called me and said, well, he's leaving on Thursday. What are you thinking? What do you think is the best option for IOP? And we went through a couple of the places, the pros and the cons, and it's up to the person to choose. He chose one and he's going. Would have been the one I chose? Probably not. But you know what? Something's better than nothing. Sure. And he got discharged Friday. He starts, I think, today or Monday.
What is, give me the acronym. What does IOP stand for again?
Intensive outpatient.
Okay. And what is sober living? Kenny, what's sober living?
Sober living is, we have Transformation House is one of our sober houses. Transformation House is independent, right? So they just do sober housing. Jared and his partner, he has a partner. They do sober housing. They have 2 sober houses currently. I think they're looking at a third. Then we have other sober houses like Integrity has sober houses. They also have IOP. Seafield has the whole continuum of care, inpatient, IOP, sober living. So there's a whole bunch of different sober living places. But when we go to check out the sober living place, we want to make sure they have Narcan in the sober house, just in case.
What is it? Just give us context. Is it like a group home? Is it like all?
Yeah. So it's men,
And
It's a
women.
group home. They usually have, each house usually has a house manager. The rules will be very strict when you first enter the sober living environment. You need to be going to meetings. A lot of them you need to be in treatment and going to meetings. You'll have a curfew.
People
After
work.
you're there you get drug tested. After you're there for a while, they'll give you some, they'll throw you a couple of bones, like maybe you'll get to stay out a little bit later on a Friday or a Saturday night. Maybe they'll give you a day off or a weekend off, but that's when you're there for a while.
Yeah.
Kevin likes to talk about how we look at different things all the time, right? I look at Narcan. I look at, are you being drug tested? Kevin looks at, oh, this guy left his wallet right on the dining room table. This must be a safe house. He's not worried about somebody clipping his wallet, So we work very well together.
Yeah.
But I just want Kevin to talk a little bit about, there's rehab, outpatient, sober living, and then we have other connections for the guys
So
we help, thanks to some of our wonderful benefactors.
Well, you were talking about the ripple effect. I met a guy who owns Answering Legal, and he's one of our sponsors for our golf outing. Great guy. Bob Schatz he's a wonderful man. He's like, I really love what you're doing. He goes, I put aside 20 jobs for you. Get me somebody that's in a sober living house that's looking to reclaim their lives. We will take care of them. We'll put them to work. We'll watch them. We'll make sure that they're on the right track. So we're now trying, people are coming to us and we're getting jobs. There's a local business called Family Bagel. The Shad family, they're so wonderful. Neil, who owns it, called me up one day and he says, I got to talk to you. He goes, I love what you're doing. I want to do more, and I don't want to write your check because that's not what it's all about. He goes, if you want a check, I'll give you whatever you want. He supplies breakfast Sunday mornings for ridiculous amounts of sober homes so that they can have a family meal. Because when you're in a sober home, sometimes you're disconnected from your family. You don't speak to them or you don't have. And the thing about sober living, we're trying to get them to rebuild their lives. So in the beginning, they're an IOP. Then they slowly start tipping down from treatment and they have to get a job. There's a lot. It's very strict. They want you to be self-sufficient after a certain amount of time to get your own apartment and start your life. You can't live in sober living the rest of your life.
Isn't that what empowers us? When you get up and go do a thing every day and you're impacting the world, then you feel better, right? And it also, what do they say? What about the devil's idle hands, the devil's playground, something to that effect, man?
That being said, Tommy, we have a thing we've put in place with the No Matter What Foundation. We'll scholarship guys in sober living for a while, but they need to show us they're moving forward. Yeah. They need to get a job. If they don't get a job, eventually the money's going to run out. We're not just going to throw money at somebody who's sitting in a sober house and not looking for work and not looking to get back into being a productive member of society.
There's a very close line from our scholarships helping somebody to enabling somebody.
100%. Yeah.
And we have people that we've had on for 3 months, and then we taper it down. We pay a little bit less, so they can start working and save money. And then eventually they got to be self-sufficient. Yeah. We're not keeping people on forever because we're not helping you at that point.
No, you're not. Enabling. Kenny, make one point and then we'll take a...
We had a guy who filled out an application and he wasn't going to meetings. He wasn't in treatment. When we said, what do you want in 3 months? He's like, I want a car. So we're like, we're not giving this guy money. He's not doing anything to help himself. Like it isn't an automatic yes for everybody who asks us for money. Right? You need to show us you're working at this and we will go to the end of the earth to help you. But if you're not helping yourself, we're not a free gravy train.
And one of the rules are you have to follow the house rules. If you get thrown out of the house, we had a guy thrown out of a house and went to another house. He goes, is my scholarship still good? No.
Wow. Yeah.
No, that's what, rules are rules.
Right. Yeah. Listen, again, because there's empowerment and then there's enabling, like you said. So we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about, you said May 17th is this rock and roll thing we're talking about, right? Did I get the date right? May 17th?
Yeah.
So,
that's not part of the No Matter What Foundation.
It is not. It is not. That's just like its own little thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk then. I want to talk No Matter What Foundation, upcoming events,
how we tell you about our upcoming events.
We're going to do that when we come back. You tell me all that stuff when we come back. We're going to do like the lightning round because Tommy D is notorious for not getting to breaks on time. So I left us on a shorty segment on the end. We'll be right back. Philanthropy and Focus.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Yeah, I love that song.
I love that. I love that you love it. Funny thing, man, back in the day, 200 episodes ago, and I always brag a little bit about how many episodes there are because, this was an idea that I talked about for 2 years and didn't do it. It had a logo, it had a name, and it had 0 episodes. And I only say that to say, gang, we're not going to be here all that long. If you want to do that thing, go freaking do it. Try it out. This song to me is funny because it's like I used to I used to encourage my guests. I would say by the third segment, I would say, hey, when we come back, you want to sing the theme song along with me? And you would see people freak out right there live on the thing. They would, I don't really sing, Tommy D. And then others would be like right in there and would want to do it. So, all right, let's talk about events. I know Kenny's got some connections at a club. I believe he's a club member, something like that, golf club or something like that. Let's talk about that. We got the golf outing, got the 5K. What's the story there?
Okay. All right. So last year we had our first golf outing, which luckily we sold out. Our new one is going to be June 16th at the Woodside Club.
Mm-hmm.
Golf is already sold out.
Nice.
Our
Already?
sponsorships are 95% sold already. I think we have one sponsorship left. We have pickleball open and we have dinner open, but we're going to have at dinner probably 300 people.
Wow. What's the reach there, Kev? Why? I mean, you're a new organization. Let me say it this way before you even answer this. Golf outings are air quotes tough for nonprofits. They are straight up. I'm just being now. Is that a mindset? Maybe, but it's also about relationships and connections. You are you're sold out 2 months, literally 2 months ahead of time. You're sold out on golfers. I know guys. I get phone calls sometimes. Tommy D, I got 2 foursomes that somebody can't use. Can you come out with 7 people and play? Like that happens sometimes. And gang, if that ever happens, call me up. I'm
yeah. we actually have a wait list now.
That's all.
Like I said in the beginning, 1 out of 3 people are affected by this.
Yeah,
and
right.
It has a reach. And look, to be fair, when you were talking about the wine tasting,
yeah,
we have alcohol. We don't promote alcohol on the golf course,
right?
Because there are people in sobriety. But at the cocktail hour, there's a bar because there's people that drink responsibly.
Well, that's great.
And they should.
And they should be able to, right?
Exactly. So our reach is, 1 in 3. So, to sell out 2 months in advance, we use a company, Perfect Golf, which hosts the website. They called me up yesterday, like, you sold out? Like, how'd you do it so fast? Like, we throw a great event. Don't get me wrong. We have a Jordan, who's a PGA pro. She's a great girl. I've known her since she's born. She comes out and you have to beat her on one of the holes. If you click down, there's a video of last year's event. It was incredible. We have golf cannons. We have a Brooklyn BMWs donating their car for a hole-in-one.
What's the golf cannon?
It's if you watch the video, it's you can shoot the golf ball 400 yards, and we have a hole-in-one if you get that. I think it's like 10 grand.
Dude, that's about the only way I'm ever gonna get the ball go 400 yards if I got a cannon.
Yeah, it's an incredible event.
That's awesome. So we'll share some of this stuff out on social media.
Yeah, that's the video of last year's event. It's an incredible. It's like a minute video. It's an incredible recap of what we did last year, and this year's going to be that much better.
And this is at the Woodside Club, right?
Yep, Woodside Club in Muttontown.
Now, if somebody wants to buy tickets for the dinner, can they still do that?
Yep, they register. There's spots for pickleball, for dinner. You can see how everything's sold out there, but if you up on the top, you can see pickleball, dinner, journal ads. Those are also available.
Yeah, got it. But I mean, like, you can still. I know you're saying everything's sold out, but if somebody wants to come in with a couple grand or something like that,
absolutely.
We'll
find a way to make it work for you in sponsorship.
I like that.
We still have T-box signs they can buy.
Got it.
They can play pickleball. They can come for dinner. They can hang out. Just show support. It'll be a great day. It's great networking. It's a great day of people that are successful in recovery, people that are in the recovery field. Some of the best rehabs are going to be there. It's a great event.
Yeah, it sounds.
It's an event filled with love and respect, really.
Yeah.
We got a 5K coming up in September.
Tell me about that, Kenny.
We did the 5K last year. It was at Eisenhower Park. It ended up being a rainy day, but we still had probably over 100 people out, right?
125.
We had 125 people out in the rain. We wanted to make enough money to break even. We ended up making a decent amount of money over break even.
By the way, that's my dog.
And
what's your dog's name?
Stella.
She
did the 5K.
And we're thinking of doing a karaoke event sometime around Christmas. We just did a casino night last month. It was a tremendous success. You know, I want to give a shout out to the Woodside Club, which our inside joke that you've been in. I tell people, come to my club. It's not my club, it's Kevin's club. But I totally invite people. They have been a tremendous friend to us. They have given us so much and really do a top-notch job. And that's why people wanted to come back.
Yeah.
It was the buzz around that golf outing last year was incredible. People all year were saying that was the best golf outing I've ever been at.
That's great.
They couldn't wait to come back.
Yeah, that's a great commercial because not all outings are like that. I play a lot of outing golf in the summertime.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one quick story about the golf outing. So Jordan Klein, who, like I said, is a PGA pro, she's working at the Creek this summer as a pro. She said to me, she goes, Uncle Kevin, I do a lot of golf outings because she's at UNLV.
Yeah.
And she goes, this is the first time that everybody was happy, not sloppy drunk, not yelling. Everybody was in such a good mood. Why? I said, half the people playing are grateful to be alive. The other half are grateful to be outside enjoying themselves. It's not about drinking. It was a day of just happiness. She's like, I've never seen 124 golfers all smiling.
Wow. And you know what, too? Shout out to Jordan. And she probably dealt with a lot of knuckleheads who had too much to drink, being a woman on the golf, all that crap. You know, there's a lot of all that wound up nonsense and shenanigans. So, you know, that's why it's a beautiful day. We're out of time. Kenny, go quick because I know you got something to say.
No, I just said she's about 125 pounds soaking wet. So every single guy paid $20 to beat her.
Yeah.
2 people beat her. One of them was Kevin's son, who she told Kevin, Uncle Kevin, I let him beat me.
So really only one. That's too funny. Little Rob, you were let to win. It was a joke. He let you win.
Tommy, we would love to come on again sometime.
I would love to do. Let's get you. We'll get you on Long Island Changemakers. We'll get you out to the studio. We'll do hashtag together. I will be at the golf outing. I'm excited. I think you guys are going to be at the Imagine Awards, Long Island.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah. Right, April 29th.
Our entire board's coming to represent. It's going to be a great event.
It's going to be awesome. I'm excited to see. We are out of time. The show's Philanthropy and Focus. Last time, I'll tell you now, though, nmw-foundation.org. If you need support, you need connections, or if you got a big check and you want to drop it off for my friends, go there, too. They'll work it out. Make it a good day, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Tommy.
You're welcome. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static.